tiny problem with it. Nice opinion. Just one tiny problem with it. Inspecting your post, it looks like your opinion is different from mine. Let me tell you something. I am the baseline for opinions. Any opinion I hold is objectively correct, and as a result, any other opinions are wrong. Guess what? You happen to hold a wrong one. I hope you know that your opinion is now illegal. I have contacted the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, the Navy SEALs, Secret Service, and your mom. You'll be sorry you ever shared your opinions. By the time you're reading this, you'll be done for. Nature will punish you. Humanity will punish you. Supernatural beings will punish you. Space will punish you. We decided just to make sure we'll nuke your house from orbit, so there's no chance you can run away. Everyone will know you will die. It's a small price to pay to remove your wrong opinion from this world.
Hello, welcome. We're back for first time in, I guess, 2 months. But we're going to react to Johnny Somali as usual. And Aaron's watching this. If you want to anyone want to rewatch watching it, like the video, like the stream, subscribe, or thoughts down in the below. And let's, I guess, get started. So, case against Johnny Somali. We're reacting. Obviously, this is a month old, and then we'll watch a few other update videos.
Johnny Somali, aka Ramzi Khalid Ismail, is going to be sentenced on April 15th. And today we're going to go over the evidence that we submitted, myself, the Somali conviction team, as we call them, and show you guys the case we built against Somali and the points that we think matter right now in the sentencing of Ramzi Khalid Ismail in Seoul, South Korea. This is, of course, Legal Mindset. We teach you to be your own judge. I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney who's been covering this case from the beginning. This will be a little bit longer as we're going to go over a lot of the details, the logic, and some of the supporting evidence we submitted in this case. And this is something we started submitting back on April 1st of 2025. That's right. This time last year, the evidence was in. We did that because we wanted the judge and the prosecutor to be considering a lot of this evidence and a lot of this wrongdoing, a lot of the thought of Johnny Somali as they pursued their litigation strategy, as they pursued their recommended sentence, which was 3 years by the prosecutor in February. And we wanted to make sure that was in timely before Johnny Somali did any sort of apology or settlement or anything else. And we correctly predicted in our submission that he would attempt those things, which he has now attempted. He attempted a settlement with Youngman, a Korean streamer, of which he had a deepfake charge. And then he also attempted to send a letter of apology after the formal trial was over in February. So you can see the actual USB submitted there, the documents that were submitted there in Korean back in April of last year. What is this about? Well, really in South Korea, in the South Korean criminal justice system, it is very important to have reflection, remorse, and reconciliation.
Which, as of right now, as he has demonstrated, that is not the case, nor does any interest in, having any remorse or feel sorry or at all.
So the offender's remorse or lack thereof heavily influences prosecutions, sentencing, and the overall approach to justice. So if you can look at Johnny Somali's level of remorse, you can see it is 0. We actually have here a clip of Johnny Somali talking about the exact level of remorse he has.
My question is basically to Johnny. What I would like to know is if he has any regrets for what he has been doing over the past few years, especially what's been going on in South Korea.
Zero regrets, zero remorse.
So you have 0 remorse for what you've done.
Tell me what I've done. Tell me what I've done that I should be remorseful for, C42. Tell me.
You haven't watched your own videos and all the other shit that you've done over the couple of years. You haven't seen anything. You haven't watched anything.
No, whenever I see clips of it, I laugh my ass off. It's funny.
So Johnny Somali has 0 remorse. That's the words of Johnny Somali. So what impact does that have on the sentencing? Well, a defendant's genuine remorse and efforts to reconcile with the victims are crucial mitigating factors when determining punishment. Courts consider the level of submission, i.e. the letters of reflection, as evidence of repentance, which can lead to reduced or suspended sentence. A shift towards sincerity. So in Korean law, it recognizes crimes where if the victim reconciles with the offender and explicitly states that they do not wish for punishment, the case can be dropped. Korean courts scrutinize apology letters closely to distinguish between sincere repentance and empty gestures, particularly in sex offenses, to prevent misuse. So in this case, Ramsey said, March 2025, just like you heard, zero remorse, zero regrets. Tell me what I have done that I should be remorseful for.
Yeah, he doesn't feel like he did anything wrong, which I guess if you don't feel like you did anything wrong, you shouldn't apologize, which obviously that's not true. He's done a lot of things wrong, but in his eyes, he has done nothing wrong.
For February 2026, he says, I'm uploading the old videos so people can watch it and be like, this guy is annoying, but he didn't really do anything. He's chimping out. But who did he harm? Like, there's no damage. February 27th, 2026, he goes into court and says, I sincerely apologize for my actions in Korea. I expressed remorse for the incident for which I was charged. I did not realize how serious the consequences of these actions, which would not be considered criminal in the United States, could be in Korea. March 17th, Ramsey submits his first and only letter of reflection post-trial. The trial, as in the case in chief, is done. The submission of evidence should have already been done. It's only waiting on the sentencing at that point. Super late submission there. And you can see that, compared to Korean streamer Jungman, who submitted 7 letters of reflection during trial and 1 post-trial. Johnny had zero from the time his trial began in March of last year, 2025, until it ended, the case in chief, in February 27, 2026. He submitted none. He only submitted it after, while he's waiting for sentencing. That's completely abnormal and doesn't show sincere reflection. Now let's talk about a suspended sentence. Now, Johnny Somali indeed knows what a suspended sentence is. In fact, he's made comments about a suspended sentence and how he desires for a suspended sentence and wants to get a suspended sentence, right? But what he doesn't know is suspended sentences are not something that is just thrown out willy-nilly in Korea. It's not something that's very easy to get, that just you can get no matter what. There are certain conditions which the judge may decide upon a suspended sentence. And if they're convicted, but the prison sentence is not served immediately, the defendant doesn't go to court unless he is convicted of another crime within the set period, i.e. 2 years. So the conditions are the sentence to imprisonment with or without labor of 3 years or less. So in this case, yes, that one would apply, right? The sentence was not more than 3 years. So technically he can still get this. But what else? First time offense. Okay. Johnny's first time offense, technically, although he's got more than one charge. The last 3 are the
first time offense on a technicality, I guess. First time offense in Korea, I guess, before he had the other ones.
Problem. Sincere remorse. That has not been expressed at all whatsoever. Victim does not want punishment as a result of the settlement. That's not true. The victims, in fact, have submitted letters saying they want extreme punishment, that they really want punishment.
Harsh.
And last is understandable motive. In this case, Johnny Somali's motive has been absolutely vile. It's been to cause, chaos, get clout, get money.
He also said he wanted a race war.
The motive here, and that's not what we call an understandable motive in this case, and something that they're going to say, hey, we're thinking this is permissive, we're thinking that this is something that's okay for you to do because you had this other reason. No, he actually doesn't care at all. And once again, he thinks that he's done absolutely nothing wrong and continued to attack the judge even. Let's hear what he said to the judge.
Shout out to President Hume, the judge, the prosecutor, y'all can suck my dick. Big ass niggas. Yeah. My dick on soft. Tell them what the charges is. Fucking carrying a fish. Tell them.
Carrying a fish and causing anxiety.
Causing anxiety by carrying a fish. Tell the judge you can suck my dick. I'll bring a fish to your mother's house, bitch.
So threatening to bring a fish to the judge's mother's house. definitely no remorse there when he's threatening to bring a fish to the mother's house. He's threatening the judge, the prosecutor, saying he doesn't care about the system. That doesn't fit in with the conditions in which you normally
threatening anyone is just not going to end well. Kind of a stupid idea, especially when you're in the middle of being prosecuted in legal issues.
Hand out a suspended sentence. That's why in the case we made to them, we said under no circumstance should you have that suspended sentence. And once again, this is something that we dropped off with them, with both the prosecutor and the judge. You can see the stamps there, the seals, the timestamps, all that's good stuff submitted last year. So we focused in this submission and the evidence that we dropped on certain things and not on other things. We focus on his lack of remorse, the glorification of his own crimes, the contempt for the Korean criminal justice system, attempts to reach fraudulent settlements with victims and deceive the court, continuing harassment and criminal behavior. We did not focus on international incidents. So I know some people thought that we may focus on Japan and Israel. And while I do bring those up from time to time, those aren't conclusive in a Korean court. Korea is not going to sentence him based on what he did in Japan or Israel or America or anywhere else. We also didn't bring up threats to defamation of justice officials or streamers or others or anything else not related directly to the court case. So we didn't bring up a lot of the irrelevant stuff, even though there's a lot of really horrible stuff he's done. Now, the premise is that the defendant is not sorry. So he continues to express extreme insults towards the court and the judicial system of the Republic of Korea. He publicly humiliates and defames his victims in an effort to intimidate them into reaching a transactional and fraudulent settlement. Even during the ongoing trial, the defendant continued to engage in inappropriate and criminal behavior outside the courtroom, including what we had submitted another charge regarding child sexual harassment when he was literally harassing minors online. The defendant continues to harass and cause anxiety to ordinary passersby without justifiable reason, and he's been doing that over and over again, even after he was charged with those crimes. So the call to action is we ask that the prosecutors in the court give the maximum penalty available under the law with no suspended sentence. Excluding any possibility of a suspended sentence, imprisonment is mandatory. You can see that he thinks he's going to get away. He thinks he's going to go to America, and we cannot allow him to have that. Also, to reject all settlements, which excludes any victim settlement agreements from sentencing consideration. And I think both of these things are important. Once again, Ramzi Khalid Ismail thinks he's going to get away light. If you hear him just recently, he actually thought that if he pled guilty earlier, he'd already be back in America.
If I would have pleaded guilty to everything, I'm 100% telling you guys, I would have been in America already. I would have been in America already right now. If I would have just pled guilty to everything,
my advice is, if that was the case, why didn't you? You claimed okay, let me get this straight. Let me track his logic real quick. You claimed if you pled guilty in America, in Korea, you pled guilty to everything you did. If that's the logic we're working with here, you would have been in the United States already. So my question to you, Johnny, is if that was the conditions for you getting back to America, why didn't you, unless there was in America you were also going to be found guilty of something else? Or the easiest answer is your ego wouldn't allow you to say you're guilty.
I would have been in America right now.
Now, this is very funny because, of course, back in August of 2025, I said on my live stream, Johnny Somali, if you want to go home quicker, plead guilty and say you're sorry genuinely.
We said that, and what did he do? The exact opposite. Everyone that has been covering this said just plead guilty, and you should be able to get home. And I mean, they also might pay you from going to Korea, but it would have saved you and saved some money, a lot of other things. You could have just gone home.
and compensate the victims. If you do all of those things, all of them, you will be back earlier, right? I said that in August, and I said that, hey, you could have got this done in 2025. He, of course, didn't listen. He said I was full of shit. He said he's going to fight it till the end. He's going to fight the deepfakes no matter what. He's going to just fight that because he doesn't want that on his record, and he's scared of that, etc. There might be real jail time. Now he's coping that he's just going to be back in America. He would have been back in America a year ago. So once again, more cope from Johnny Somali. So continuing on, here's what we submitted. We submitted a statement from a professor, Professor Ulrich Nod. We gave source video guide with URLs. We submitted compilation video of the defendant's statements proving his lack of remorse and contempt for the court. We submitted a clip of the defendant revealing a strategy to intimidate Bong Bong into a fraudulent settlement and deceive the court. We also have a clip of Ramsey entering the court building on March 7th, 2025, and 5 complete VODs streamed live in March of 2025. So this is all stuff from last year, which gives the defendant's background, Ramsey's background. We define terms like IRL streaming, nuisance streaming, desktop streaming. We explain the text-to-speech messages, and we explain the background of the submitter who was part of the Somali conviction team. Why do we need prison? Well, prison is really important here because the defendant's deliberate escalation of public harassment and sustained premeditated mockery of the Korean judicial system demands the severest statutory response. The defendant has repeatedly made it clear he doesn't care about financial penalties, fines. Fines could even be crowdfunded by the defendant's fan base, rendering them utterly ineffective as a deterrent. Documented digital evidence proves that the defendant Somali attempts at settlement were coercive, transactional legal strategies entirely devoid of genuine remorse. And you can see this contempt in what happened on March 7th last year. So this shows hostility before, during, and after the first trial. So from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., he was drunk. He was drunk before the trial, live streaming from his sole apartment, drinking heavily, vomiting, saying, getting ready for court while drinking. How many shots do I owe the viewers? Then he arrives at the courthouse 1 hour late, intoxicated. And when confronted by Korean press, he says, F you, B word, N word, right? Suck my D.
That's not very helpful for your case, Johnny. I know this is a month old. I know. It still is not helpful.
I love Kim Jong-un. And then after at 12 o'clock.
Oh, yeah, that's real helpful. Saying I love the North Korean dictator of the other part of Korea that wants to annihilate the part of Korea I'm saying it. That's a brilliant idea.
He goes on for a post-trial celebration. Audio from the taxi departing the courthouse. He's laughing hysterically. He said, do you accept the charges? And he said, suck my D. Now, he didn't actually say that in court. He was BSing. He was lying. He was making that up. He did not say that in court. I was there for that one. The defendant's statements, actions, and statements immediately prior to the first trial. So here you go. Which is his talking about the insanity plea, which is where the inside joke comes from. But he said, when I go to the judge tomorrow and say, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm mentally ill. I don't know what's going on. I have bipolar disorder. And what may I do? I left my medication in America. I don't know what's happening, Your Honor. Please help me. I'm a psychopath. I plead mentally ill. And they say, okay, go home with a fine of $500. Well, first of all, he never actually made that statement in court. He talked big. He bragged. The whole trial is over. Everything's over. He never once actually used an insanity plea or anything else in court. That was complete tough talk. That was complete him acting tough. He never said anything about that.
Because he's not insane is the issue. Or the problem is he's not actually insane, so he can't pull an insanity plea when he's not insane and he's clear his thoughts and all that. So it doesn't really work.
In court. But one thing we put in our submission based on that comment he made on live stream, which we submitted to the court, we said bipolar has many known symptoms, but causing anxiety in public, interfering with business, and distributing sexual deepfakes is not among them.
That's called you might be meant. That's called not that. That's called you being just crap human being, I guess. I don't know.
So he had very, very really rude comments about the Asian courtroom system. He said, low key, let me tell you how to play the Asian courtroom. I'm going to tell the B in the court, look, to the victim, I'm sorry. To the victim, I'm sorry. And then he laughed and said, to the N-words on the bus. I'm sorry. To the statue I R-worded, that the statue I graped. I'm sorry. Baby, please forgive me. I'm going to hit a little K-pop dance, shake my ass one time, and they're going to have to let it go if I spit that flow. He goes on to say, tomorrow the judge is trying to charge me for carrying a fish in a bag in public. Carrying a fish in a bag in public. And asking someone, do you want to eat the fish? How is that a crime? Come on, tell me what kind of respecting judge is going to take that seriously? Well, that's only one of the crimes of 8. Sorry to tell you, Ramsey Khalid Ismail, but that fish is one. There's several others, including saying vulgar sexual messages in front of children at Lotte World. You had an obstruction of business charge for that. That's in there as well. There's a bunch of other things disrupting people on the metro, bus, other places. The 7-Eleven incident, and then the deep fix on top of all of that. So March 7th, he was late, of course. He had a golden opportunity to express his remorse to the Korean people, but what he decided to do was curse them out. He said the F word. They asked him, do you admit the charges? He said, F you, B. Is there anything else you want to say? Suck my D. Do you admit the charges? F you. Don't you want to apologize? I love North Korea. I love Kim Jong-un.
Yeah. Wasn't this also the picture? Was this also the one where he, ran away from a little Korean interview girl? I think this is the one, because this is the same place, and then I think she ran in and tried to interview it, and he ran away from. She wasn't that big. She was very tiny, mind you, but she was very stern about what she was asking him.
And that's what he had to say. And then you look at the next day. He goes and downplays the entire judicial process. He says it really wasn't that big of a deal. I showed up drunk. I showed up happy. Like the charges that they have me for are such minuscule charges. But they got me for spilling a cup of noodles. They got me for carrying a stinky fish. They got me for BS, bro. Like you can't go to jail for any of that in any country. I know for a fact I'm not going to jail, not one day for jail. I have footage of me and Hank leaving the court laughing our asses off. We're not going to take this seriously.
You should have, probably, because now you're facing jail time, probably 6 months to a year.
And then saying, you're not going to jail. You spilled a cup of noodles. You carried a fish. You played some music. You're an American citizen. What are they going to do to me? Well, they can throw you in jail, Randy.
American citizen doesn't mean much when you are terrorizing an entire country that's also an ally of America. There's a diplomat and geopolitical thing that also does part of this. So just because you're American doesn't mean you can escape the country's laws. That doesn't work.
He goes back to IRL streaming, right? Talks about and downplays all of this, saying the fish stream was legendary, saying apparently it's a crime in Korea to cause anxiety, saying Trump's going to save you. Well, that didn't play out, right? Trump didn't save him.
Because I don't think he's willing to risk, because no person is with the Jeep. I mean, some people are, but I don't think first of all, he probably doesn't even know who that is. Second off, is he worth the risk of, potentially making South Korea no longer an ally? Is he really worth causing a geopolitical rift between South Korea and America? Nope. Personally, no one is, but especially not him.
And then saying he's back, right? So once again, celebrating after trial. So the point is, as the trial is over, he's celebrating, he's happy, he's downplaying the criminal system. Just before 11 p.m., defendant entered a hookah bar to harass other IRL streamers, a male and female, right? Remember that slightly homeless, Anana. The man repeatedly said, go away, and the defendant broke a bottle of soju he recently purchased. Without cleaning it up, he said, who cares? F that shit. They're going to pick it up, and went to buy another drink. He then followed and stalked them, right? The two of them, those streamers, right? For 10 minutes, yelling comments such as Hiroshima, Nagasaki, and Nakadashi, which means cream pie in Japan, to a woman who is Japanese. The woman yelled stalker and police, and the accused said, call those niggas bitch. Eventually, the woman broke away, went to the police station, and filed a complaint against the defendant, right? The defendant fled the scene. About 2 hours later, the defendant started desktop streaming. Being aware the defendants had recently filed a criminal complaint, the defendant asked a Korean friend to call the police to clarify. The friend said, they're trying to investigate you for causing anxiety. And then Ramsey, RKA, shouts into the phone where the police are on the other end, shut the F up, you bitch effing N-word, and then hangs up the phone.
Brilliant idea. Amazing strategy. I am simply amazed at his lack of awareness or ego, or I don't know what you want to call it.
Right? And he takes pride in that and pride in underestimating the system. So I have a request to exclude any settlement with the victim. So with Bong Bong or with Youngman, we put in there a comment that they should not take that seriously. Now, there was no settlement with Bong Bong, but he did get one with Youngman. And the important thing to note is that the charges weren't dropped with Youngman. But he says here when he's talking about Bong Bong, he says, and that B Bong Bong from Kick, that's trying to charge me. Let's say we hit that B with a Uno reverse charge. She's trying to charge me for a deep fake. Sex is so stupid. You're claiming I showed it.
Well, I don't think you can Uno reverse card when you were the one that distributed it to begin with.
AI meme on stream, and I'm guilty of deep fake. Well, she showed the same AI, so she's guilty too. I sent that report. I'm petty. You're not going to charge me, and I'm not going to charge you. Well, guess what? They didn't charge Bong Bong at all. They only charged Ramsey. So that little Uno reverse did not work at all whatsoever. And so this fact, the fact that the defendant, Ramsey, aggressively is disparaging Bong Bong, the victim, while supposedly pursuing a settlement, proves that settlement is not intended for a genuine dispute resolution, which is what the Korean system is going for. It's merely a strategy to try to get out of being punished. He only cares about the consequences. He doesn't actually care that he did something wrong. So it's an act which directly contradicts the essence of the victim's restitution and social reconciliation pursued by the settlement in criminal justice procedures. This settlement is not intended for the protection of the victim or the realization of justice, but is merely a strategic measure by RKI to minimize his criminal disadvantages. Given the defendant's continued antisocial behavior and attitude of contempt of justice, a settlement should not be used as grounds to prove his remorse or possibility of social reintegration. Rather, it should be regarded as a factor which aggravates his responsibility. Even his guilty plea is a lie. And we'll put this up here too, because I want to show you guys, Johnny, not only trivializes crimes, but he just doesn't believe in apologies.
Like my lawyer told me it's a fucking joke. My lawyer told me this is all a joke. The lawyer said not from the beginning. My lawyer said I'm not going to jail. Spilling noodle, playing music, carrying a fish. It's not if I was a real criminal, I'll be in jail right now. Why the bro? I could go out.
Well, you're about to be, or already are. So, I mean,
outside and go carry a fish tomorrow again. I can go on the bus and go twerk and play music right now.
That is very much I
don't think you can, but go ahead and try.
Not true statement, right? Because that's how all criminals are handled in Korea, where they're held outside of prison before their sentencing date. That's very normal. The process is the punishment. You have to pay your own costs, pay your own food, pay everything else. So that was on him. And we all know that he had to borrow money from Hank, right? But we can see that there's no actual genuine remorse from this guy, because actually he doesn't believe in apologizing. And he's got this other clip where he talks about this and just says, hey, look, I don't even believe in apologizing.
He does have problem with apologizing, actually.
Not only to you personally, but everybody in the world, I would say.
Pretty much, yeah.
I always tell Hank, it's not just, I don't want to apologize to you when I do something wrong. I don't want to apologize to fucking anybody. Maybe it's part of my personality. Maybe even my own family has called me very selfish. I remember my father when I was 6 years old, 7 years old, 6, 7 years old. My own father was like, Ramsey, you are a very callous individual. That's something that stuck with me. I remember that in my whole life. 6, 7 years old, my dad, you were very callous. I've had maybe a problem with empathizing with people.
Yes.
Not being able to understand other people's feelings.
So that's it. So he's pretty much said, hey, I'm not apologizing. I'm not apologizing to anybody. I don't apologize to anybody, right? Like, that's part of who he is. That's part of his character. That's part of what he is. So, him even saying he's guilty doesn't come with sincerity, right? It doesn't come with that necessarily element. So this case goes beyond the personal crimes of the defendant, Ramzi Khalid Ismail. It is a challenge to the South Korean judicial system and social order. It is a serious matter attracting the attention of the international community. Citizens around the world, including foreigners currently residing in Korea, are watching the outcome of this trial with concern. In particular, those classified as nuisance streamers, like the defendant, are closely watching the verdict. If the defendant is not severely punished, it will set a dangerous precedent for streamers in Korea and other countries who intend to commit similar crimes. The defendant's actions are not merely legal violations. He blatantly disregarded the laws and social norms of the Republic of Korea through creating anxiety in public, racial insults, sexual harassment, contempt for the judicial system, and persistent harassment of victims. Furthermore, he profited from these acts by turning them into content and spread messages to his fandom glorifying crime. If such behavior ends with a simple fine or light punishment, it will incentivize similar streamers to commit crimes not only in Korea but also in other countries. Accordingly, that's why we're asking the court to give strict consideration to exclude the settlement as grounds for sentence reduction, give a substantial prison sentence, and exclude any suspended sentence and imposition of imprisonment. Last but not least, there's one clip that I just have to leave you with Johnny's lessons learned. This is what Johnny took away from all of this.
Maybe it's because I turned 25 recently. I feel like my brain has matured a little bit. I'm just going to do my...
No, I don't think it's that. I don't think you've matured a little bit at all in general.
DJ shit off camera. Like, that's just a better way to do things. Like,
That's what you do. It's what everyone else does.
That's how they caught Diddy and Epstein. They taking photos and video of everything. They like to record everything. Stupid. I'm stupid too. Why am I going live doing this crazy shit?
There you have it. Johnny Somali saying that he is just going to continue to be a degenerate no matter what, to continue to do things that are criminal no matter what, with absolutely zero remorse, zero looking back, zero consideration at all, period. I want to know what you guys think about our case against Somali, about some of the evidence, the strategy, what we submitted, and I will talk to you on the next one. But I want to remind everybody that the Cabbage plushies are now live. So if you want to get one of these Cabbage plushies, if you like my coverage of the Ramzi Khalid Ismail Johnny Somali case, you can get one of those in the link below that's pinned in the comments and in the description. Thank you.
All right, so okay, let me just pause that real quick. All right, so guess we can. Which one should we do? Let me stop sharing real quick so I can just look through this. Okay, yeah, I guess we can. Yeah, do this one actually.
Appealed the decision of his court sentence in Seoul, South Korea. We're getting into Somali's detention hell that is just beginning now, and now he is in the absolute worst position possible. Of course, as a legal mindset, we teach you to be your own judge. I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney who's been tracking the Somali case from beginning to end. So let's jump right into it with my opening statement. So as you guys probably know, but to recap, Ramzi Khalid Ismail, aka Johnny Somali, was found guilty on all charges and sentenced to 6 months in prison with labor, an additional 20 days of detention, 5 years of offender status, and had his phones permanently confiscated. Now, yesterday on the 20th, Ramzi Khalid Ismail actually...
So he has nothing. He can't do anything in prison. He's stuck alone.
submitted for an
with a bunch of Koreans that don't like him.
appeal in Seoul, South Korea. And today we have news that the prosecution has filed an appeal. So it is officially happening. Here's the actual submission form you can pull online, and you see here 4/21/2026 prosecutor Park So-jung submits an appeal, and the prosecutor submitted a statement for grounds for the appeal. So it is happening, folks. And right now, we need to understand that after he was dragged out of the courtroom, he was handcuffed. All of his possessions were taken. He was marched off to the police station where he remained in a holding cell probably over the weekend. And then he's taken to Seoul Detention Center, specifically Seoul Nambu Detention Center, which is where we have essentially confirmed he is right now. And we're going to get into exactly how bad that is. But what's good is the cabbages are still available. So if you guys haven't got a cabbage plushie, make sure you get those to celebrate this momentous occasion of Johnny finally getting what he deserves. The link is in the description below, and it's also in the pinned comments. All right, so let's get into this detention hell. So in case you guys weren't paying attention to my other video, I'm going to recap this double detention and how this works to extend his sentence. So he did receive 6 months of prison, technically 6 months and 20 days. But on top of that, they can slap at least 6 months for the appeal. Actually, that can go even more if he appeals to higher courts. It brings us all the way up to the Supreme Court. He could get up to perhaps another 8 months on top of that. So this can go well over a year. But at a minimum, we're looking at 6 months here. And so even after the time of his sentence, so even after the 6 months is done, they don't let you go and let you back in Korea after that conviction. They have to hold him in the detention center. He's in there with other folks that are appealing, other folks that are perhaps waiting to get sent out of the country or have other issues. So all of those people are held there. They do not get to roam free. They are forced to stay in the detention center even past the time of their sentence. So even if Johnny was to win, that may not work out right. And why this is particularly funny and something that we've held on to for a very long time is because we knew that if he was, and we on the SCT knew that if he appealed this, he would be stuck in the detention center for even longer. So if he'd actually just taken the sentence and ridden it out, he might be able to just get out of there quicker. It's possible if the prosecutor didn't appeal that. But because he actually appealed, he's now stuck. And I know that sounds crazy, right? As it says here, wait, what? But I put in my appeal. I'm going to go to prison for how much longer? That's not fair. Well, in Korea, the process is the punishment. And indeed, he is learning here today. So all throughout that appeal process, he's going to be stuck in the detention center. And we're going to get into why the detention center specifically is worse than the labor prison. But to do that, we really need to explain to you guys how the labor prison compared to the detention center is absolute heaven. That labor center, the factory where you'd be making fish cakes or cleaning toilets, doing whatever else, the labor prison, which likely would be Chonan prison. That prison.
Gosh, dang it. Oh gosh, really? Why does it have to be 2 ads? I hate you.
To prisoners, looks like heaven compared to the hell that is the detention center, specifically Seoul Nambu Detention Center. We had the chance to actually interview someone who'd been there to that detention center, and they walked us through the entire process on and how it's such a bad thing. And just so you guys understand, this is what happens. They start at the court, they may go to the police station, a holding cell for a couple days, and then they go to the detention center. And they wait at the detention center till that appeal period is up. And if they choose not to appeal, if they do not appeal, then they'll go on to the prison that they are sorted into, right? So if it's a labor charge that requires you to do labor, they'll go to a labor prison, likely Chonan, end up in a factory job there, and end up doing that work at that separate prison, at that labor prison. But if they appeal, this step 2, never goes to step 3. They're stuck in this detention center. And this detention center, ladies and gentlemen, is rough. So talking and interviewing with our individual who'd been there and going through all the details, there's some crazy stuff. First of all, the detention center is at 130.
That yeah, that's kind of nasty.
50% capacity. In the detention center, specifically Seoul Nambu Detention Center, they are packed in tight. They pack them in.
So it looks like every what you see prisons like in Korean dramas, like there's like multiple people stuck in one like room cell. So that's what it seems like it's right here.
6 people to a room for foreigners, 7 for Koreans, probably because they assume that foreigners are larger and going to take up more space. And indeed, the one with the lowest rank, the one who is considered the lowest in the room, has to sleep next to the toilet. And mind you, these are Korean squatting style toilets. So they're stuck next to that toilet in the room. Foreigners are not given the ability to exit the room. They essentially stay in the room all day because there's none of the tasks that they can do because they don't speak Korean at the prison. They can't do things like serve food, etc. They're also only given about 30 minutes of outdoor time every other Saturday. So they're not getting much outdoor time at all. They're really stuck in that room almost the entire time. The other thing is you really can't talk. Talking is not a thing. Socializing is not a thing. You really can't communicate with people. And the only way people communicate is by letters or on the rare occasion that a family member shows up to see them. Hot water is something that people fight over in this prison. In fact, they only get usually one hot shower a week. There's also no air conditioning, so he'll be dealing with a very, very hot summer in that prison coming up right now.
Does
Also,
not sound
lawyers in the
pleasant.
prison try to exploit foreigners, and oftentimes they're there giving bad legal advice. Of course, Johnny is no stranger to bad legal advice.
I mean, that's the reason he's in here is because bad legal advice that he decided to what he did. Yeah.
Mind you of what his lawyer said to him during the pendency of the trial.
April 1st, 1000 hours.
Does he think that this charge will have any jail time? Because people on the internet are saying, I know it's bull. Don't even say that. Just say this charge. People are saying I'm gonna go to jail for this. Is that true?
이거 감금될까요? 예. 많이 문제되면.
구속되냐고?
네.
What do you say?
He's saying that
저번에 처음에
probably not because
얘기했잖아.
you are an American.
See, this is the opinion he was relying upon. He was relying upon getting out because he's American, and even his lawyer gave him that bad advice that, hey, you're not going to get punished because you're American. Well, clearly
That did not happen, actually. What happened is he did get punished, not because he's American, but because he's an idiot.
that was not the case. The other thing is, of course, as you can probably imagine, prison food is horrible. You are only getting buckets of rice and soup, and this is actually very low quality. It was actually noted that on Korean holidays like Chuseok, they give out special white rice that is of higher quality because normally what they're giving them is extremely low quality, and people are fighting over the food and the rationing there as well. There is a commissary, but here's the problem. You can't order from that commissary unless you speak Korean. Unless you're going to be speaking in fluent Korean, they're not allowing you to order from that commissary unless you can buddy up with somebody who can order for you. So Johnny Somali is not getting any perks or anything special in prison. Let's
No.
take a letter here that actually looks at a letter written from the prisoner that we interviewed, or rather to the prisoner that we interviewed from somebody in the labor prison. So this is a letter written between friends. They were actually both, charged with a similar thing. And this letter explains how much better the labor prison is than the detention center. They say, try to come fast because in Chonan, that's the labor prison, the time is passing very well. Every morning we go to the factory and 5 o'clock we come to the room. All day we're busy in work, talking to many people and also having the opportunity of a phone call. And also can talk to your friends. And fortunately with Mr. Park Chung, he is very famous in Chonan prison. Take good care of yourself and stay warm. Remember me in your prayers. This is the type of thing you're seeing. So you're seeing someone in the labor prison looking back and talking to someone in the detention center saying, hey, you got to get here quickly because this is so much better. That takes me to my judgment. So in judgment, Somali is now
Yeah, so obviously one prison's worse than the other.
stuck in Korea for beyond his 6-month sentence. He's officially going to be there even longer. Likely a year, possibly more. If we get a verdict that's even longer, that will be great. His detention center life will be a living hell. He's stuck in there and kind of head to
Does
foot,
not sound
packed in
pleasant.
tight, stuck in the room, not going anywhere, no communication, no internet, all that other stuff. It is worse than the labor prison that he is stuck in. And we are still going to push, despite all this happening, as the prosecutor has appealed, as Johnny's appealed, we're still going to push for the maximum time locked up in Korea. We still think he needs to get multiple years, 2 to 3 years, and we're going to
Maybe 5.
But what do you guys think about his detention center hell? I want to know if it's is it deserved? Is it too much? Let me know in the comments below, and I will catch you on the next one.
You don't deserve to settle, so play a game that won't either.
All right, give me 1 second. Oh, okay. One more, and then
In a leaked prison letter that we have exclusive access to. We're going to get that today on the legal mindset we teach you to be your own judge. I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney who has been tracking the Johnny Somali, Ramzi Khalid Ismail case from beginning to end, and perhaps has the best insight into his psychology here and exactly why he's coping hard as he faces 6 months, now up to a year, behind bars in a Korean detention center. So for those that don't know or may have been hiding under a bush, our defendant here, our subject here today is, of course, Ramzi Khalid Ismail, Johnny Somali, who is a nuisance streamer causing trouble in Israel, in Japan, and now locked up in South Korea after his crime spree with 8 criminal charges, all of which he was found guilty on, got him landed in jail. And as those who've been following this know, and we'll talk about in my opening statements, Ramzi Khalid Ismail, Johnny Somali, was sentenced to 6 months with labor in addition to 5 years registration as a offender, and beyond that, having his phones confiscated. Now, he did appeal, as well as the prosecutors did appeal, and as we covered in my previous videos, that means he'll likely be there for another 6 months. So he's likely looking at a year in detention, especially waiting there during that appeal. So he's going to be there for a little while, but the prosecutors had recommended 3 years. So he got way lower of a sentence than was recommended by prosecutors. And hopefully that can be extended. Now, as we look at this letter, we're going to see some reasons why that needs to be extended and why he absolutely needs more time. Now, to be clear, as we covered, his only form of outside communication is by letter. There's no phone calls or anything else. And we received a leaked copy of a letter that was sent to Johnny Somali. So let's turn to that. I want to take this opportunity to remind everyone to subscribe to the channel and make sure when you click on that subscription, you have all your notifications turned on, because YouTube has a way of not letting you know when the latest and greatest are out unless you make sure those notifications are indeed on for the channel. And if you really like the content, consider joining as a member. We have 2 exclusive member streams every month where you can ask absolutely any question, and we go into a little bit more casual and fun topics that we don't normally cover in the normal streams. So make sure you do that, subscribe, and consider joining as a member. Thanks. So here we go. We have the letter. It has his name here. It's kind of how you have to send them, their name, their prisoner number. That's the person who sent it. And they mailed it to him in order to, send him some information, send him letters, and he can send back and forth these letters. So this individual sent him a letter, and this is Ramzi writing back from prison in response to this individual's letter. So let's get into it here. We have the entire letter, but I've pieced this out for you so we can focus on the sections. So it says to Lee Hano, I appreciate you writing me and wishing me well. Your support means a lot. I actually have been having fun here, and it's been a good week so far. I am staying healthy and laughing a lot with a good group of cellmates and other inmates in prison. Well, I'm going to stop there. Johnny Somali has always had a personality where he's laffy-taffy, where nothing affects him. He's never sorry. He's never down. He's never beat. He's never defeated. And Johnny Somali is going into this trying to think he's going to get a W, think he's going to win a quick appeal, think he's going to get out of there quickly. So I don't think he would, in any circumstance, under any circumstance, say, I'm having a horrible time, this is breaking me, I'm done, whatever. But I also think it's complete cope and not true that he's, quote unquote, having fun. This guy is on a set schedule. He has no outside time. He's stuck in a cell with several other people.
I mean, Yeah, he's stuck. From what I gather, yeah, it's not gonna be fun.
And he's in a position where he's not having access to the internet, social media, anything else we enjoy. I can't say that he would possibly be quote
He's probably freaking out right now.
unquote having fun. But let's continue here. It's kind of like a hotel, just without my phone or laptop smiley face. And I want to focus on that smiley face because this smiley face tells a huge story.
Oh, the smiley face means he is not happy. It means you're mad. It means the opposite of what a smiley face represents.
Story here. That's the type of smiley face that you're like, this is really not fun, but I'm just drawing this here for performative effect, right? This is absolutely the most cope smiley face I've ever seen in my life, and it tells a huge story. Your letter boosted my spirits, and we even glued the TV schedule you sent onto the wall. Well, very interesting. If it boosted your spirits, then perhaps they weren't that high after all anyways. Perhaps that wasn't that great anyways. So the letter continues here. Thank you for offering to add money to my commissary account. My prisoner number is at blank. If you send me English books or textbooks to study, the CFA Certified Financial Analyst exam or test, or other books on the stock market or economics, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. From Ramsey Cletus, Malakay, Johnny Somali. And we verified this signature by looking back at other documents where he's signed, and we know his signature. We've seen his signature in other places. So we work with the Somali conviction team. Shout out to everybody on that team that looked at that, compared that, and said, yeah, this checks out. This is a 100% legit letter, legit signature. He also says, P.S. for any books on the stock market, I would like a book on U.S. stock market trading. Thank you. A little heart. Very interesting here. So a couple of things. First of all, it shows he really is trying to beg here. He really doesn't have that money for the commissary to purchase things, even if he has a person he can speak to in Korean that's going to order for him, etc. Right? He's literally pretending to be broke as a joke, even though we know, and this is very relevant, that he scammed a bunch of money off of Hank. Now we have reports that that amount is up to $80,000 total. So about $20,000, $30,000 for living expenses, legal fees, and about another $50,000 that he scammed off Hank, allegedly to invest in the U.S. stock market. So allegedly, Hank had told Johnny, hey, invest in the U.S. stock market for me because I can't do it, and do that for me. And he didn't do that, right? So that's part of that conflict between Hank and Johnny. And this lines up here, him looking at the stock market or economics, and him looking at stock options trading, that he's essentially Ramsey has rugged Hank and is looking to get that money and put that money elsewhere. Maybe Hank will finally be motivated to actually sue and bring some action against Johnny Somali, which could keep him in there for even longer. So let's go to my judgment. In judgment here, Somali is coping about having fun, but clearly he is taking 6 months lightly. Now, one thing I will say is he probably doesn't know he's going to be in there for up to a year because he's not having people communicate our videos and everything. He's not watching all of my videos as he used to. He used to put that one dislike on my video. I'm kind of missing that dislike from Somali now. But in that case, he's clearly not taking it seriously enough. He's also planning to invest that cash that he scammed from Hank in U.S. stocks. And perhaps planning to make that a thing that he's doing in the future. But all this does show is that he needs more jail time, that he clearly is thinking that this is some sort of temporary thing, sort of like going to a unfavorable summer camp for a little while, or a hotel, as he called it. And he's going to take this as a joke. And it shows that when he comes out of this, he is going to just be doing the same thing. He's going to go back to the same behavior. He's not going to be a changed man. He's not a person who says, I'm so sorry for my actions. I feel horrible. This is something that I never felt like I would be in. This is a nightmare. This is something that, I would never thought I'd experience. None of that contrition, none of that.
Well, Johnny, maybe you shouldn't have, I don't know, did what you did, like, assaulting a bunch of Korean people, other illegal stuff, plus, essays, inappropriate stuff as well.
Fear, none of the other things he needs to feel in order to actually be changed by the experience. And that's why prosecutors need to push for more time and need to give him more time. They have appealed, and hopefully we will get that. Guys, I want to know what you think in the comments below, and I will catch you on the next one. This is the last call on the pre-order for the cabbages. If you haven't had a chance to get your cabbage, the pre-sale order window is closing very, very soon. So I'd like to give everybody the opportunity to get those. We've had an amazing turnout with that. But if you haven't got it, if you're thinking about it, you're debating it, make sure you head over there and get your cabbage ASAP. Also, I wanted to give a final call if anyone wants to give a donation for the Somali conviction team over there on Ko-Fi as we transition to other topics, talking about other things. You know, this is the last chance, last call I want to have for people giving back to the team that has been instrumental in making sure that Ramzi Khalid Ismail gets a maximum sentence. So head over there to Ko-Fi if you want to donate there, or grab yourself a cabbage, and I will see you on the next video.
Let me give you some advice.
That's the, I guess, that's the end of the stream. Again, if you're watching the rewatch, like the stream, subscribe if you want, comment down below. And I will see you next time. Bye.
Welcome to the Blizzard Arena.
And the quest for a champion begins today.
The anticipation has been building, and it is finally time. We are live.
Are you ready?
That is a really.
Can you get over the roof there?
Oh my!
Oh my! What a play! What a grab!
Another jump here on the high ground. Super goes forward, but gets stuck up. The EMP comes in, and Ding, he rains down hell from above. Here comes Pine. Gets one, gets two. Looking for a bit more, gets another one.
Tuno down again. That heralds disaster generally for the Fusion, and Carpe wasn't far behind. Prophet! He's killed 4 players now on his own.
From Vancouver, locks him in the sound barrier. Sound is huge. Another bomb coming from Johnny. Oh my God! He does it again.
Flutter now moving onto the Widowmaker, taking the clutch into his own hands. The headshot after headshot after headshot.
Okay, I like this for the Gladiators. We're going to try and circle around. I'm going to call this the merry-go-round because it makes me laugh. Makes me happy. And Sean Paul switches to the Widowmaker just at the right time. Oh, the Graven!
I'm the best person in the world.
Oh my word!
I mean, you could have told me that you spoke English, honestly.
The fans never thought they'd see this day. It took 43 matches. Feels like a really emotional moment here.
Sorry.
All right, I will see y'all later. Bye.